Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome to another episode of Weight of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on this episode, we'll discuss a Narrative Ash Waste Nomad gang for your next campaign of Necromunda. We'll discuss what a narrative gang is, the reasons for playing a narrative gang, and provide a 2,400 credit starting roster for your very first narrative campaign. So why would you want to play Ash Waste Nomads? The reason why is because the Ash Wastelands are your home and you will die defending it. This is native rights activism taken to the extreme level where you're raiding supply convoys, killing gangsters, destroying guild property, and pretty much sticking it to the higher ups in the hierarchy of Necromunda as well. At the same time, you're also up for a challenge because you don't have access to vehicle rules as well as a lot of brutes, hanger-ons, as well as hired guns because they're kind of limited for an Ash Waste Nomad gang. And at the same time, you want to play a gang of Fallout Wasteland mutated ninja warriors because that just kind of rings with you and resonates with you as well. So that being said, now that we're done talking about why you want to play Ash Waste Nomads, let's talk about exactly what a narrative roster is and how it incorporates inside of a campaign. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about what is a narrative roster. A narrative roster is an idea I've been cooking up for a while where it's basically a new way of playing. Necromunda is a wonderful game with all kinds of interesting stuff with dramatis personae and special characters and skills, weapons and equipment, and all kinds of different things that makes this game such a fantastic skirmish game to play. The campaign setting is literally limitless and the different opportunities that you can have to play. So my idea was, what if you took some of those narrative aspects of the Necromunda lore and applied them to list building for our gangs? Now, in a narrative list, you'll be using dramatis personae as leaders as well as champions in your gangs, so long as it kind of fits with the overall narrative of what your gang is. Same thing with having access to certain skills, weapons, and war gear that may not normally be allowed in your gang as well, and the reason why we're doing that to add to that narrative flavor. This also applies to brutes, hanger-ons, as well as hired guns, which are not normally allowed in a starting roster, so that's what the idea of this whole narrative roster is. We're taking the narrative elements of the Necromunda setting with a specific gang and applying it to that starting roster. Now, the whole reason why you might want to play a narrative gang is because it's a fun new way to spice up playing Necromunda. It could also be the basis of a brand new narrative campaign. A narrative campaign is this idea I've been cooking up in my head about actually having a campaign setting where there's an actual storyline for each of the different gangs. The gangs are out to seek certain kind of objectives in this campaign setting, and that's pretty much how it would work in that campaign setting. The gangs that achieve their objectives, narratively speaking, are the ones that end up winning the campaign. And the idea was a nice little way to explore some of the lore and the endless fluff that is usually associated with Necromunda. Like I said before, Necromunda has a very rich and in-depth campaign setting with different characters, houses, guilds, criminal organizations, different levels and different factions all vying for control of this crazy planet. So I thought it would be really a cool idea in order to create those kind of campaigns around those little pieces of lore and have gangs to reflect that and to do this. The idea of a narrative campaign as well as a narrative roster is that you kind of focus more on fluff and lore rather than competitive play, and I'm going to try to design the lists around that so that way your starting roster does reflect that for the specific game that you're playing. And obviously, the biggest question should be asked, why should you play in every game? And my only answer is with another question, why not? There's a lot of cool things you can do in Necromunda and a lot of cool topics you can explore as well. This is a good way for beginners to learn how to play a game as well, and it could also be great for experienced players too, just in case you're looking for some new and interesting way to do this. Not only that, it could also be fun being an arbitrator of a narrative campaign because you got to create a narrative story, give different objectives for your gangs to try to accomplish, and earn points that way. It's also really fun for players to kind of build a backstory of why their gang is operating the way it is and how it's supposed to operate in the campaign setting, and it's a really cool idea as well. And I suggest giving it a try. I mean, why not? You could always see something new with this game system, and that's the wonderful thing about Necromunda. There's always new and cool ways of actually playing this game as well. I will give you a warning, however, no way in shape and form should you be using a narrative list like this if your arbitrator doesn't allow it for your campaign, just because I'm not following some of the official rules for the gang rule building rules that come with the game. And at the same time, these are also not really good for tournament play, but just keep that in mind as we go forward. Alright, so this is going to be your Narrative Ash Waste Nomad starting roster. It's going to be rated at 2,400 credits. We're using the Aranthian succession rules, so you have 2,000 credits to create your gang, as well as 400 credits for mounted fighters. At the same time, you will be able to download the number of champions you have in your gang as well. Now, this list does have a good balance of close combat as well as shooting elements in this gang. You're going to take advantage of the visibility conditions because you do have a Stormcaller in your group, so that's going to be able to help you out as well. Don't forget that you also have access to Sungar Warrior Spirit's game mechanic that is available from the Apocrypha Necromunda supplement in Halfway Dead, where you actually roll d6s for your watchers as well as for your Nomad Chieftain to summon up different types of spirits that can help you out with your game as well. You will also have the Dramatis Personae character Asungar, as well as her giant Grapplehawk Terra Shadow to also participate in your gang as well, so they'll also be included in this list too. Now, some narrative ideas for this gang, of course, it could be things like defending your territory against from outsiders. Maybe you're targeting a specific character or a gang specifically to destroy, or maybe there's like some kind of convoy you're trying to target. Whatever the case may be, you've got all kinds of different types of things you could use to create this gang. Even making an outpost using the Outlanders campaign mechanics in order to build your tribal home could be also a really cool, fun way to play. So up first, let's talk about your gang leader, who's going to be your Chieftain. It's going to cost you 230 credits. This character automatically comes with the Ash Cloak as well as a Sky Mantle. You're also purchasing mesh armor for this fighter for 5-up armor save, as well as a blast pistol with Infra-Sight, so that way they can fire this blast pistol in all visibility conditions, and of course have Infra-Sight to help you out do that to ignore partial cover. Blast weapons are actually very, very powerful because they automatically wound on a 6-up with their shock weapon trait. Plus, this guy's also packing a chain lance for close combat, so you can really screw up your opponents with that weapon as well. Not to mention, you also have the Infiltrate skill for this character too, and the reason why you're doing that is because even though it may seem like they're going by themselves, they won't be. They're actually going to be using Infiltrate in support of Asungar, which is your Dramatis Personae character in this gang as well. Now, when it comes to your Sungar warrior spirits, Chargar, the Electro Spirit, as well as Margar, the Blade Spirit, will help out the most. Chargar, what then ends up happening is that Electro Spirit is that if you do manage to use a shock weapon and you hit, it automatically wounds regardless. You don't have to roll a 6 to hit. So it can be very, very powerful, especially against enemy vehicles. You can really screw up your enemy vehicles by doing that as well. And Miargar, the Blade Spirit, also improves the armor penetration of your weapon as well. And with that chain lance, it's going to pretty much negate most enemy armor saves. That also includes vehicles too, which could really help out. And like I said before, Asungar will also be part of your gang as well. She will cost you 240 credits, and she is a Dramatis Personae who will be an outcast champion for this gang, and she will be a weird archetype. And the reason why is because the way the lore describes her, she actually has a connection with the environment as well as animals, and I'm not sure why they didn't make her a psyker in the first place. But we're going to correct that problem by doing this for your gang list. You're going to give her, she automatically comes with mesh armor as well as a blast pistol and a stalking knife. She also has a spirit staff, which is also a really good close combat weapon with versatile trait as well. She does have an Ash Cloak and Sky Mantle, so that way she can survive environmental conditions as well as hide easier. And she also comes with Terra Shadow, which is that giant exotic beast, that Grapplehawk that's going to help her out as well. Now she does have Born to the Waste, so that way she can hide even if she's in the Underhive, as well as Infiltrate special rules, so that way she can also deploy anywhere. She has Stormwalker to increase her speed, as well as the Telepathy discipline. When she takes the Telepathy discipline, she's going to have Fearful Aura, which means that your enemies, of course, will have to take a willpower test or to charge her into close combat. And she's also going to take the invisibility power, which means that when she triggers that, so long as she doesn't attack anybody, she cannot be targeted by enemy shooters, which is going to be extremely useful for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to partner up Asungar with your Chieftain. The both of them are going to infiltrate together with Terra Shadow. That way you can really mess with your enemy's rear flanks, for example, or exposed flanks. And when you combine that with that invisibility, she can move around the battlefield until she gets to a good advantageous spot to either take an objective or to take out a rival fighter, which only adds to her narrative background. Now she does come with Terra Shadow, which is of course an exotic beast, which is also a Dramatis Personae. It's got rending talents as well as the Infiltrate skill. It's got flight, grapple, as well as swoop special rules. So this thing is an absolute beast, and you can also pair this up with Asungar and your Chieftain when you infiltrate them on the battlefield. Use Asungar mainly to maneuver around in order to secure objectives, and use Terra Shadow to attack people, and same thing with your Chieftain as well, and make a very deadly combination with that infiltration team. So continuing with your champions, Watcher number 1 is going to cost you 315 credits. This fighter's got Ash Cloak and Sky Mantle, so that way they can hide and also protect themselves from environmental effects. They have mesh armor for a 5 armor save, and they're going to be armed with a charge caster with shock and crack rockets for heavy rocket launcher type weapons. They're going to also have a scavenge scub gun for a backup weapon as well as a rocket pack, so in case you do roll up an ammo roll with that charge caster, it automatically gets reloaded. And of course you have photo goggles for all visibility conditions as well. You also give this guy the Eyes of the Wasteland skill, so that way you can increase his visibility whenever visibility rule conditions are in effect. And once again, when it comes to the Sungar warrior spirits that can help you out, Steergar, the Ash Spirit, could be really helpful, because what ends up happening is that whatever the visibility rule is in that battlefield, you can actually move this warrior that number of inches, so you can displace this guy anywhere you need in order to get an advantageous targeting towards your enemies. And same thing with Chargar, the Electric Spirit, because as long as he hits the target, that shock ability will automatically wound, which will just devastate enemy vehicles like it's nobody's problem. So that would be the two warrior spirits that will help out the most. This guy's job is to pretty much hang back and to target high value targets or groups of targets with his charge caster as well. You're also going to pair this guy up with one of your warriors who also has a rocket pack as well, so that way they can reload this weapon twice if they need to, just in case an ammo roll comes up. Watcher number 2 is going to cost you 245 credits. This guy has also got Ash Cloak as well as a Sky Mantle, as well as Mesh Armor for a 5 armor save. And he's also going to be packing a web gun, because web guns are absolutely dangerous. Strength 5 template weapons is no joke that automatically put your enemies out of action if you're lucky, so that's a fantastic weapon to have carrying around. At the same time, he's also going to have a scavenge stub gun for a backup weapon, as well as hip shooting, so that way he can take a double action to move twice and open fire with his weapon. Now, he does usually suffer a -1 hit penalty because of that, but because you're using a web gun with a template, you really don't need to worry about that too much, and you can just wreck face with that weapon all the time, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, when it comes to your warrior spirit, Steer Guard the Storm Spirit is extremely helpful from this one, just so that we can displace around the battlefield to where you need to get to, so that we can charge at your enemies and shoot them with that web gun. And Tear Guard the Ash Spirit also helps out as well, which because it makes your enemies blind so they can't actually shoot at you. So if you want to, you can actually send this guy in a deep penetration mission where basically goes right in the middle of the enemy formation, cut loose with his web gun, and at the same time not be targeted because your enemies are blinded, which is always a good thing to have in your gang. And because we're building your list using the Aranthian Succession list building rules, you can have a 4th champion, and this is going to be your Stormcaller. It's going to cost you 185 credits. This fighter's got a Storm Cloak for environmental protection, as well as a Dustback Helmite, because this fighter's also a mounted fighter as well, which will come out of the 400 credits you use for your mounted fighters. This guy's also got Mesh Armor for a 5 armor save, as well as a Stormcaller staff, so that way they can take a double action to reduce or manipulate the visibility conditions of battlefield effects, which is going to be absolutely fantastic EU to have, as well as a Blast Rifle as well. Now, the Stormcaller staff is a good improvised backup weapon, but really what you're going to do with this guy is you're going to pretty much keep him back for the most part and just have him keep on summoning the storm is all you're going to do for this guy. He's not really going to be used for combat all that much. The only time I've ever used this guy for combat really is if you are really desperate and you actually need the additional help, hence the Blast Rifle that this guy is carrying as well. He's also got the Stormwalker skill, so that way you can also increase his movement allowance. He's already pretty fast already because he's on a Dustback Helmite, but with that Stormwalker ability, he's going to add additional 2 inches, especially if he's on the ground level. So if he needs to escape, he can do so, and then of course he could just call the storm again and just really play Merry Hob with your enemy's visibility conditions. Now then, you have 2 Dune Riders in this gang, Dune Rider number 1 and 2. They both cost exactly the same at 190 credits apiece. Both will have Ash Cloaks as well as Dustback Helmites. Both will have Mesh Armor as well as Chain Lances for that beautiful lance charge attack with those weapons, as well as Blast Rifles with Infra-Sight, so that way you can see in all visibility conditions as well. So these guys will be one of your Assault Fire team that will be hitting from the flanks. Pretty much they can use the blast rifles in order to target enemy units at distance until they finally close up to them, charge forward those chain lances, and destroy them as well. You could also use these chain lances to really mess with your enemy vehicles at the same time. Not to mention, they also benefit from Zugar's warrior spirits as well. So things like the blade spirit can really help out with their armor penetration as well. Same thing with the storm spirit, so that way they can maneuver around the battlefield even faster if they need to. So have these guys try to attack your enemy's exposed flanks and to take them out that way. After that, you're going to have another warrior. It's going to be the specialist in your gang. This warrior is going to cost you 275 credits. This fighter's got Ash Cloak as well as a Sky Mantle. They also got Mesh Armor for a 5 armor save. And they're packing a Charge Caster with Shock Blast as well as Crack Rockets as well. They have a Scavenge Stub Gun for a backup weapon as well as Photo Goggles so that they can shoot in all visibility conditions. And they also have a Rocket Pack as well to reload their gun in case they run out of ammo with an ammo roll. And like I said before, this will be your gang specialist as well. What you're going to want to do is partner this guy with one of your warriors, because the last 2 warriors in this gang also have Rocket Packs as well. So have one warrior pair up with your Watcher number 1 and another warrior partner with warrior number 1 as well, so that way you'll never run out of ammo for your guys' charge casters, and that way you can just wreck face and just destroy enemies as possible. And once again, that Sungar warrior spirit about the Electro Spirit will really help out, because all you gotta do is hit the target and you're gonna automatically wound because of that warrior spirit. So if you do manage to roll that, make sure to keep that in mind with this warrior. The last 2 warriors that are going to be on this roster are warrior number 2 as well as warrior number 3, and they're both equipped exactly the same at 140 credits apiece. Both will have Ash Cloaks as well as Sky Mantle as well as Mesh Armor for that 5 armor save, and both will have long rifles with Infra-Sights, that way they can shoot in all visibility conditions and at the same time ignore partial cover of those Infra-Sights. They both have Scavenge Stub Guns for backup weapons in case they get engaged in close combat, and they both have Rocket Packs as well, so that way they can help reload the Charge Caster for warrior number 1 as well as Watcher number 1. Like I said before, you're going to pair these 2 warriors with one of your champions as well as your specialist, so that way those guys will never run out of ammunition for their Charge Caster. The Charge Caster is the real main killer in this gang. It's going to take out the most enemies, and these guys are basically acting as support to support with some long range fire and to act as snipers for the gang as well. As the campaign develops, you of course could get better weapons for them in terms of like close combat weapons, like maybe a blast pistol and maybe some kind of like a long blade or something like that, so that way they can defend themselves in case they get charged against. And because it's a narrative list, we're going to have a hanger-on as well as a brute. Now, in my campaign setting for narrative campaigns, hanger-ons can level up and advance alongside your gang. They can also get better weapons as well. So do keep that in mind. So your first hanger-on is a Nomad Arthurmite Herder. It's going to cost you 40 credits. He's got Ash Mesh Armor as well as an Ash Cloak as well. He's got a Hunter's Pole Armor, which is a pretty decent attack, close combat weapon with a versatile trait. But the main reason why you're taking him is because of Arthurmite Whisperer as well as training program. He's going to add buffs to your Arthurmite Dune Scuttler for your gang and make it even a more deadlier warrior as well, and also help it to heal faster too. He's also got Born of the Waste ability, so that way he can hide if he needs to on the ground surface, so that way, because he has a Sky Mantle, so he can also avoid being shot at as well. You could of course increase this guy's weapons as time goes on, give him like a good blast weapon, some sort of like a blast carbine would be good for this character, because you'll be assaulting up forward. And you're going to partner this guy up with your Arthurmite Dune Scuttler, who's going to cost you 210 credits as well. Now this creature's got heavy carapace armor, so that way it's got a beautiful 4-up armor save as well. It's got powerful mandibles for close combat. It's got the hard to kill skill, so that way it's a little bit more durable. It's also fearsome, so your enemies have to pass a willpower test in order to charge it in close combat. And it's also got nerves of steel, so that way it can ignore being pinned. So this thing is the complete package of close combat effectiveness for insects. Now don't forget, you can also take 2 of these Arthurmite Dune Scuttlers as your gang advances in the campaign. So the moment you can, buy a second one, so that way your Arthurmite Herder can help them level up using the training program, and at the same time help them heal up faster with the Arthurmite Whisperer skill that he has as well. And that'll definitely round out your gang and make it much more deadly as your campaign develops. So in conclusion, building a narrative list is a fun and unique idea to try out new lists, different dramatis personae that you might not usually have access to, as well as setting up new challenges for yourself, as well as for your campaign as well. And like I said before in the introduction, in no way is this official at all, so I wouldn't recommend you taking these to any kind of official tournaments or any organized tournament play as well. Same thing with your arbitrator. Also double check your arbitrator, see if they'd be okay with you actually making a gang list like this. And ask your arbitrator if you would like to do a narrative style campaign. It could be something really cool. It could be something really cool to try out within your gaming groups and to try out new campaigns, so give it a try. And if you do decide to play this way, please let me know down the comments box down below. I'd love to hear some of the comments and feedback you guys have about using the different lists I create, as well as some future other campaign ideas that I have coming down the pike. And of course, I'll bring up more videos about this topic as time goes on. And as always, recommendations for any narrative list will be welcomed. I'm actually planning on making a narrative list for pretty much every single faction in Necromunda, so I do have my work cut out for me, and I'll be uploading those videos on a regular basis, so keep an eye out for that to make sure you catch it and learn the newest and latest narrative lists for whatever particular faction you would like to play. So that's good for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this video, guys. We will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.